Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, we ask that you take your seats as we will begin the program shortly. Thank you. Aloha. I am Captain Travis Miller with the J6 Directorate, U.S. Indo-Pacific Command. It is my pleasure to be your MC for a keynote presentation on this last day of the AFCEA Asia-Pacific TechNet. As a courtesy to our key speaker today and our fellow professionals, we ask that you silence all of your communication devices. We are joined today by tomorrow's leaders and their cadre who are now part of junior and senior ROTC programs from across the great state of Hawaii. As you are called, would you please stand? From the University of Hawaii, Manoa campus, Army, Air Force, and Navy ROTC cadets. From the junior ROTC programs, we have Campbell High School, Waimea High School, and Kapolei High School. Thank you all. After the closing remarks, we ask all of the junior and senior ROTC cadets quickly move to the right of the stage for pictures with Paparo. Cadets, you may be seated. For our closing benediction, we will now be given by Chaplain David Yang from U.S. Indo-Pacific Command.
Would you please join me as we pray together? Gracious God, on this last day of the AFCEA TechNet Indo-Pacific 2024, we pause and offer our thanksgiving to you. We acknowledge that we are utterly blessed beyond measure. You shower us with your abundant blessings, watch over us, and walk alongside us like a loving Father. We are grateful for all the leaders, participants, and organizers alike for this event, and that we can pursue and enjoy freedom, openness, and security in the Indo-Pacific. Thank you for granting a forum such as this event, which allows us to sharpen our skills and understanding to truly attain such goals. In these volatile and unstable times that we live in, we need your insight and guidance more so than ever. Grant your people a discerning heart to distinguish between right and wrong, and wisdom to make the right decisions that ultimately lead to peace and prosperity in the region. Thank you for filling us with your knowledge and depth of insight, and for bringing peace and clear-minded purpose amid chaos. Now, as Admiral Paparo gives his closing keynote speech, may our focus on achieving a free, open, and secure Indo-Pacific be ever more renewed. And more importantly, may each of us experience genuine freedom and security within. Be with us during the remainder of our time together, and bless us now so that we can be a blessing to those around us. In your holy and strong name we ask. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain, for that movie, Benediction. I would now like to ask Brigadier General Michael Smith, J6 Director from U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, to come up to the stage.
All right, good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Aloha. All right, strategic pause, I appreciate that. All right, it's my sincere pleasure to introduce today's keynote speaker. Before I do that, I'd like to just share a few things. First of all, thank you for the incredible AFCEA team, General Lawrence, Dick Palmieri, Paul Friedenberg and team, the flexibility and support that your staff enabled US Indo-PACOM to come here and share our operational priorities and set up the facility. It's just been fantastic, so thank you very much. To the Hawaii Convention Center, the folks that actually are greeting us, cleaning the facilities, bringing in food and support, you guys have been tremendous, and you've always just kind of helped us with what we needed, so thank you as well. All the AFCEA volunteers, a lot of them from US Indo-PACOM, thank you for being away from the headquarters to enjoy this event, but we need you to get back to work too. But honestly, thank you for being here and supporting this tremendous event. To all the US Indo-PACOM staff and subordinate commands that came here to help us, we greatly appreciate you and thank you. And lastly, to all our industry partners, thank you for being here to help listen and understand the problems and challenge sets that we have so that we can understand your technologies and what you bring to the fight so that we can operationalize and bring those together. With that, secondly, most of you have been to a lot of the J6 panels this week, to include all the other keynote and special panel members. But if you've been to the J6 panels, you've probably heard this steady drumbeat that I'm about to share, just to share some of those atmospherics for US Indo-PACOM. So we're the combatant command that's really challenged by geography, our tyranny of distance, from the west coast of California to the western border of India, from Antarctica all the way to the North Pole. You can imagine the challenge in the space that we have to cover. 52% of the world's geography, over 50% of the world's population, over 3,000 languages. And we're doing all that working with and through our allies and partners to synchronize all of the effects with DoD and non-DoD partners to ensure a free, open, and secure US Indo-Pacific. Our mission is really short and sweet: deter aggression, prevent and respond to crisis, and when called upon, prevail in conflict. And we accomplish that across 4 lines of efforts: campaigning for integrated and impactful information operations, building, developing, and employing advanced all-domain combat power, strengthening our alliances and partnerships, and improving our theater posture, enabling expanded movement and maneuver. And with that, I'd just like to say a few key words before I introduce our key speaker. Our nation's leader that's been charged with standing guard in support of our nation in this theater, Admiral Samuel Paparo, Commander, U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, a native of Morton, Pennsylvania. He's a distinguished U.S. Naval aviator and Top Gun graduate. He's flown over 6,000 hours in the F-14, F-15, and F-A-18 aircraft, completing an impressive 1,100 carrier landings. His exemplary leadership includes command of Strike Fighter Squadron 195, Carrier Air Wing 7, and Carrier Strike Group 10. In joint commands, he led the Provincial Reconstruction Team in Nuristan Province, Afghanistan, and he served as battle director at the Combined Air and Space Operations Center in Qatar. He was director of the operations at U.S. Central Command and commanded U.S. Naval Forces Central Command, U.S. Fifth Fleet, and Combined Maritime Forces. Most recently, Admiral Paparo, as commander of the U.S. Pacific Fleet, on May 3rd, 2024, assumed command of U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, leading our nation's effort to promote security and stability in the Indo-Pacific region. So please join me in giving him a warm welcome. And sir, over to you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Good morning and aloha. Well, I want to make a particular aloha at the table where I'm sitting for the leadership. of Tamara Greenspan, the chair of the board of AFC International. Thank you, Tamara. To a friend and mentor to me, General Susan Lawrence, president and CEO of AFC International. To another friend and mentor, Linda Newton, also regional vice president for Hawaii, Guam, Alaska, AFC International. And an aloha to Major General Garrett Yee, Vice Chairman, AFC International, to Brigadier General Paul Friedenberg, Vice President for National Security Defense, and to Mike Black, the Vice President for Defense, AFC International, to Brandon Lester, Regional Vice President for Japan, Korea, AFC International, and past President, AFC Hawaii, to Colonel Retired Thundercloud, Vice President, AFC Hawaii, and to Nancy Temple, Vice President, AFC International. And so many friends, so many mentors that I've seen here in the crowd. I see my old mentor, Admiral J.C. Caesar. It's great to see you. I saw Rear Admiral Vic Mercado, another dear friend. Great to see Vic, and so many others, more than I can possibly name. But I want to thank everybody for being here, for convening, to convene on ideas, to convene on making the force more effective in information ops and accordingly more effective in combat power, cultivating our alliances and partnerships, and building out, in fact, our theater posture, enabling us to deter, and in deterring, we can never bluff the real, credible, disorienting capability to fight and win. I want to give some perspective today on the priorities in technology and where specifically we need the help of each and every single leader here in this room. And I also include the future leaders that are in this room as well, whether it is the ROTC cadets and midshipmen here in the Aloha State, or it's our junior ROTC members. I think it's particularly visionary on AFCEA to have invited so many young people to share in this, to be cultivating careers in STEM, and to be cultivating careers in national security, because we all have a stake in it. I'm going to give just a few opening remarks just to frame the security environment, to frame a little bit the technical environment that supports the security environment. And then I'm going to walk down and just take questions, and let's just pretend like there's no back end, and we'll take questions until we've exhausted every single one, and we've gotten some discussion out, just so that we can convene on ideas. And the first, and Chaplain Yee, you captured it brilliantly in your prayer, is that we're living in a time of increasing disorder and chaos these days. Conflicts raging in the Middle East. It's a conflict that isn't just centered on the Middle East, but is also being sustained by actors outside of the Middle East. And it's involved, in fact, a multi-proxy war with the addition of Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen. And while doing so, conflict is also raging in Europe with Russia's bald and blatant invasion of Ukraine, now 2.5 years plus on into the conflict. North Korea continues their ballistic missile testing and nuclear ambitions, and all the while, and most challengingly, the People's Republic of China is in the midst of the largest military buildup since the end of the Second World War, and maybe just on scale, maybe ever. The PRC's coercive campaign against Taiwan continues, looking to change the status quo with coercion and with the threats of force, and with the PRC's revanchist, revisionist, and expansionist claims in the South China Sea. This could be at any moment the next flashpoint. And none of the threats that we speak of are in a stovepipe. Each of the actors here have both transactional relationships with one another and symbiotic relationships with another, where one is resource rich and another is technology rich and another is human capital rich. We see them trading amongst each other to cooperate to increasingly sow global disorder. So, for instance, in North Korea, KJU is supplying ballistic missiles and artillery and human beings directly employed against Ukraine. And at the same time, that will not be within a vacuum. Almost assuredly, there is a return from Russia to Ukraine that's supporting their own ambitions. Iran is supplying weaponized drones and close-range ballistic missiles to Russia for use for Ukraine. And each of these states are establishing closer ties. And then in the case of the PRC supplies 70% of the machine tools and 90% of the semiconductors that power Russia's war machine. And undoubtedly, resources are coming back this way here into the Indo-Pacific to sow discord and to sow chaos. And so accordingly, you see how the world is increasingly connected. The world doesn't subdivide itself along our unified command plan in the United States. And we're living also not only in a time where our adversaries have this symbiotic and transactional relationship among each other, but also at a key inflection point in technology, key inflection point in compute, in AI that's enabled by that compute and that data environment, in hypersonics, in nanotechnology, potentially in directed energy. And who prevails is who can match the technological epoch that we're living in at really the dawn of the information age with this environment of global chaos. And we believe that on values, on education, on our alliances and partnerships, this confers key advantages to the United States and to our allies and partners. But just the key advantage is not enough. It takes work, and it takes blood, toil, tears, and sweat that must be matched to that. You've heard me say in the past that deterrence is our highest duty. And so the chaplain might allow that the just warrior fights with tears in their eyes. Nobody wants to fight, but it's by cultivating the real ability to fight that you can, in fact, deter your would-be enemies with the capability and the demonstrated will and your adversary's knowledge of it, that the risk of conflict outweighs that which can be gained by aggression. And so only by real combat capability can we deter. And that reason why, for United States Indo-PACOM, why the information domain is first and foremost is because, in fact, everybody has weapons, everybody has sensors, everybody has missiles, everybody has platforms, but who can knit those together with the information systems that enables you to see, understand, communicate, decide, and act faster than your adversary's ability to do so, if able, your ability to dazzle, deceive, destroy your enemy's ability to see and sense the battle space. That essential mathematical equation of our ability to see, understand, decide, communicate, act, divided by our adversaries, that number, the higher the numerator, the lower the denominator, the better off that we are as a joint force, and the greater margin we'll have in prevailing in conflict. And here, in the context of this conference and our work at US Indo-PACOM here, as we convene here at AFCEA TechNet Indo-Pacific, just a few current initiatives that we are performing are salient as we discuss this. And then the first is counter C5 ISR&T, and that is the ability to dazzle, deceive, destroy at times of our choosing, your adversary's ability to see and sense the battle space, and to do so while being interoperable with our allies and partners. And RJ6, General Smith and his team, and in fact everybody here, are working really hard to accelerate our critical theater-wide command and control modernization initiatives in order to enable our own ability to perform C5 ISR&T. This effort distributes critical on-premise and cloud-enabled warfighting resources in support of our campaigns and our operational plans to ensure theater-wide data availability, security, and integrity. And our J6 is also modernizing how we fight from a headquarters IT perspective. We're integrating new capabilities that enable critical theater-wide C2 in support of mission requirements to include continuity of operations. We're working with Program Executive Office Digital to provide higher levels of IT service and collaboration capabilities, thereby increasing our ability to more effectively work with one another. And along the same priorities of modernizing our own C5 ISR&T, we have established the Indo-PACOM Mission Network, which will establish a seamless and secure command and control with our allies and partners. Because as you know, most of our operations are not just joint, they are combined, they're multilateral. And this network of alliances and partnerships are, in fact, our key strategic asymmetric advantage. The network is based on, first, our relationships, the shared values of the allies and partners, our relationships among leaders, the commitments that we make to one another, and then the systems that connect us so that we're operating off the same picture at all times. We're able to pass mission orders at all times so that we're able to achieve unity of effort at all times throughout the area of responsibility. We continue to develop the Indo-PACOM Mission Network to be zero trust in accordance with National Institute of Standards and Technology, NSA, and DoD standards. We're currently participating in exercise Bold Quest 24 as proof of concept for our Indo-Pacific Mission Network Tactical Data Center. And by 2025, in the summer, our mission network will reach full operational capability during exercise Pacific Sentry. When approved by the NSA, Indo-PACOM Zero Trust architecture will be operationalized with our allies and partners. We're also developing assured C4 running estimates with Alliance and Partnership Network to define and prioritize our foreign military sales case interoperabilities, such as TADL modernization, crypto modernization, and combat ID-friendly force tracker. We're working to ensure if formal information sharing agreements are not only in place to enable key multilateral information sharing for all 7 of the joint warfighting functions, C2 information, intelligence, fires, movement, maneuver, protection, and sustainment. So, as you can tell, we're doing a lot. We're doing it with you in partnership, and look left and look right, because if you're in this room and you're within earshot of my voice, you're absolutely indispensable to the effort. So where we need our help, first to industry. We need your innovation. We need your drive to continue to improve on our interoperability. For industry, we can't do it without you. You are indispensable to the effort. Your experience, your knowledge, your energy, your effort. The defense industrial base is key, critical, and indispensable to the effort. To our To our academic scholars in the office, in the audience, we need more of you. We need more of your research-based findings to help tell us where we can improve and how we can get better. And so our academic community are the intellectual engine that helps drive innovation among us. And to our ROTC and our JROTC in the audience, we need you to keep at it. We need you to study. We need you to particularly focus on the STEM topics. Because as I said earlier, we all have missiles, we all have ships, everybody has that, but the very greatest weapon system is the one that is between your ears. And so if you look at myself and you look at General Lawrence, Admiral Caesar, Admiral Mercado, General Friedenberg, the whole team, there's a little bit of snow on the top of the mountain. And so we need you young leaders to take up the mantle because our future absolutely relies on it. We need you to study to have that intellectual basis so that when you are confronted with a problem that you've not trained for, that you're ready to apply those intellectual principles that you've flexed in school to find new solutions. And to everyone in the audience, don't wait for me to provide you a solution. Don't wait for the old heads in the room to provide you the solution. We need that. We need your initiative. We need your fresh ideas. We need your innovation for us to be successful moving forward. The security environment is challenging, but with you, we're confident in our ability to prevail. We're confident because the joint force is ready. The combined force is ready. Because we have the support of the people in the room. Because we have the ingenuity and the innovative spirit of the people in this room who convene here and other places. So within this challenging security environment, but armed with the gifts of what the joint force, the combined force, what industry, what academia, and most importantly, with the gifts that the young generations that are coming through can bring, together we can prevail. And with that, let's cultivate some questions and answers. We do have a means by which you can send your questions in, but I'd really prefer the questioners to come right to the microphone and to ask me, and I'm going to come down this stairwell and talk to you one-on-one. So any question, any topic, team.
Thank you, sir. While the audience is making their way to the microphones, we do have a couple of questions here in the back.
Thank you.
First question.
Do you need me on the podium so you can, I see you got a blank screen up there? Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, I got it. Thank you. Okay.
Are there any updates on the Indo-PACOM Joint Mission Accelerator Directorate and how industry can engage with it?
Well, the Joint Mission Accelerator Directorate is alive and well. It exists within the J8. We've recently had a turnover where Dr. George Kali'ivai, a national treasure, has retired, although we'll be working mightily in order to retain his skills and talents as a subject matter expert and in any ways that we can retain him. And we've got Bob Stevenson. I don't know if you've ever heard that name. You know, frequently people come up and establish their bona fides and say, you know, hi, I'm so-and-so. I studied under Bob Stevenson. He is soon to be assuming the duty for J8. A J8 directorate is a directorate that connects resources with mission. The JMAD is alive and well. Rob Morrison is here in the crowd already. I've already spoken to him unless he's playing hooky from this discussion. There he is. Good. Stand up, Rob. There's your JMAD director. He's a direct report to Bob Stevenson, and that is in order to accelerate our efforts. The effort is alive and well. Our key projects, thank you, sir, you may sit. Thank you, Rob. Our key JMAD initiatives of the Joint Fires Network, of the Indo-PACOM Mission Network, of Stormbreaker, which is the combination of the ability to war game and the ability to real-time update plans on hundreds, if not thousands, of runs with mass data analytics and gaming, experimentation, modeling, and simulation, and then PIMTech, which is the effort to connect, in fact, every training range, every training effort in the live, in the virtual, in the constructive space across the vast global geography of the Indo-Pacific and elsewhere. Those 4 initiatives are alive and well and progressing. And as a function of my own arrival, I would also like to apply those same Joint Fires Network principles to sustainment. And so the Joint Sustainment Network joins the other 4 efforts that the JMAD is working on right now. So yes, alive and well. It's added to the great expertise of Bob Stevenson. Its director is alive and well, so he's given us proof of life. He's also given us proof of his dedication to the mission by being kind and smart enough to attend my discussion here today. And so, alive and well. Thank you.
Sir,
Hey.
thank you very much for doing this. Diego Lage, reporter with Signal Media. 2 questions. How hard is the Jan 1, 2027 deadline to you? And second, you just confirmed that North Korean forces are on the ground in Ukraine, if I'm quoting you right.
Yes, you are.
How do you think this experience will affect what's going on in the Indo-Pacific when these forces return with experience?
Oh, thank you. That's a great question, Diego. On the first, the January 1st, 2027 date, this is an important data point to orient around because it gives us a sense of urgency about where the PRC's head possibly could be on building out the capability to settle the matter of the Taiwan Straits by force, and inherently also to use the coercion of that force to upend potentially the principles of self-determination and the peaceful resolution of the Taiwan Straits matter, which is the policy of the United States in accordance with the 3 communiques, the 6 assurances, and the Taiwan Relations Act. But that 1 January 2027, it's not like it's a holiday between now and then. You know, it's not like the Y2K virus where we can kind of sit on our hands until January 1st, 2000 and wait and see what happens. Because it's a stretch goal. It's a goal that the PRC has set for itself to be ready. But if before then, if the PRC decides that a war of necessity is required, and all one need do is read their anti-secession law of 2005 to see what those conditions are, they're not going to wait until 1 January of 2027. And accordingly also, when January 2027 comes, if we don't see troops marshaling and executing an operation, it doesn't mean we can take a deep breath on 2 January 2027. And so my response to that is that we've got to be ready today, next week, next month, next year, in the next decade, all the time. And this is the policy of the United States in accordance with the Taiwan Relations Act. So, I think there's some tendency to think that either A, conflict is predetermined for 2027. It is not. Conflict is the PRC's last resort in this. But does that foreclose conflict? Absolutely not. So conflict must be deterred in accordance with the policy of the United States. On the other hand, does it mean that we have a holiday between now and January of 2027? Absolutely not either. The sense of urgency between now and then must be there. Now, when we first began talking about this date, the context of talking about this date was we were in 2021 and it seemed like it was a far way off. Well, January 2027 is getting pretty big in the windscreen right now about where we are, and so the symbolism and the importance of that date loses relevance day by day by day, because what we really must anchor ourselves around is what is the PRC's combat capability and how do we build a force that can and will prevail against it in order to avert conflict. And so with each coming day between now and 2027, the date loses its relevance, because what is really relevant in the problem is the PRC's capability, which we can see, and that capability is a capability that it's expanding in scope in air, missile, maritime. It is expanding in the geography, in the jointness with which it operates. It's the PRC's partnerships, particularly with Russia, their no limits partnership, and the extent to which their combined operations are expanding in geography and in scope and in scale. We're seeing that increase every day. So we must be less focused on the date and more focused on the reality of what we see in capability and in will. And to the second question is, you bring up maybe one of the most salient points in all of that too. However many thousand of North Korean infantry are going to be operating in Ukraine, it's unpredictable. If they are, what is North Korea's response if those troops are lost in combat? How do they respond? What is North Korea receiving in return for thousands of troops? Surely this is not just some act of benevolence, which I don't think benevolence is in the job jar of our would-be adversaries. As I said, their relationships are transactional. And so it's not just a matter of the combat experience that they receive, but what accommodations are North Korea receiving from Russia in response, in return for the contribution of that capability in Ukraine. And I think that it's unpredictable, but I don't see any great outcomes out of it. All I see is risk. The risk of the unpredictable. Is it for all of us, I see the risk of what kind of technology is going into North Korea in their proliferation efforts. I see the risk of the unexpected for what happens to their troops and their response to that. Here within our own theater, it's concerning. I don't see any upside to it at all for anyone. Thank you, Diego.
Hello, Admiral. Julie Vita with ManTech, Fly Navy. My question is less scary, but I think still important. And it's about engaging with industry. We love to hear leaders like you talk about welcoming industry, that we're in it together. You need our help, we need your help. But you're in the minority often. It's very difficult for us to get in front of other leaders and decision makers from the industry side for cultural reasons. And so my question for you is there another approach that we can and should be taking to get the ear of and the time of leaders and decision makers so we can have a government and industry partnership that's better than it is already. It's gotten a lot better in the last 5 or 10 years, but we're still not to a place where it's as symbiotic, to use one of your words, as it should be. So any tips from you or things that we can learn, ways we can communicate better to partner with government?
Thank you, Julie. First, a point about industry is that, in the days of yore, the services, to some extent, built their own capability. I'm in the Navy and I'm a naval aviator, and so in the early days, the Navy built its own ships at its own shipyards. And even in the early days of aviation, the Navy built their own airplanes. And so, but this is not the world that we live in. When I say we can't do it without you, is that there is no industry element for us in uniform. The only way that we're going to bring capability on board is by partnering with industry. And whether that is with the major contractors, the Big Five, as they were called, or whether that is with the smaller firms that can demonstrate a lot of agility, is that this is what I mean about cultivating the defense industrial base is absolutely indispensable. And so if you take the first point, which is that since A, the services are not building their own gear, B, somebody must do that, and C, that is going to be industry inherently. So what's going to make that relationship most effective? It's so that we can understand our problems, each other's problems. You've got to be able to understand my challenges and my requirements, and I have got to be able to understand industry's challenges and requirements, the physics of it, of what's possible in the physical space, in the hurdles along the way, whether those are the hurdles in the defense acquisition system, in the federal acquisition rules, in the horse blanket, if you like, the incredibly large body of boards, bureaus, cells, working groups, reports that go into our defense acquisition systems. And our exchange of information has got to be specific enough so that we know each other's problems, but not so specific that we're voice-actuated autopilots for one another, so we can unlock each other's creativity. And in difficult times, it's human nature sometimes to point the finger at others and to say that you are the problem. Well, that's just never helpful. It's not helpful in a family, in a marriage, in a relationship of any kind. And the time to close on understanding each other's problems is not in the public space, but it's by moving into a room in small, trusting groups and really talking about what our challenges are and mutually breaking down the barriers that keep us from innovating together and to keep us from bringing capability on board. And it's something that's been a part of our history, which is that we never really get our act together until we get a huge black eye, whether that's at Pearl Harbor or Kasserine Pass, or whether that is in the autumn of 1950, as troops swept south on the Korean Peninsula. We have to be able to overcome this because speed is the coin of the realm in the environment that you're working on. So the solution to this is, not letting our emotions take over. It's the discipline of taking the time to talk with one another, to being able to close on what are the limits of physics, what are the limits of bureaucracy that are keeping us from being as successful as possible, a mutual understanding of each other's problems because they're our problems, and for leaders here, whether you are wearing stars on your shoulders, whether you're wearing eagles, or whether you're wearing oak leaves, to have the discipline to understand that and taking that time to squaring up on those problems and being disciplined about no finger pointing to one another. Because not a single one of us wakes up in the morning and saying, you know, I'm really intent on screwing the country today. You know, every single one of us wakes up every day wanting to do our very best for the country. And as long as you're entering into a relationship by thinking the best of people, and it's not always human nature to think the best of people, but you know, the defense industry really only returns about 10 to 12% profit margin at any given time. Most of the talented people that are working in industry are not just smart, but they're passionate and they're mission oriented to it, because they could be making a mint working for, you know, name your company, you know, a company whose name does not yet exist, but Salesforce, Microsoft, Google, Apple, whatever you like, more innovative companies whose names are not rattled off at the top, on the top of our heads. Is that nobody in industry is really at it to get rich. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in the defense industry. They're looking to make a difference. They're looking to make a fair living, and they're passionate about the nation, and they're gaining dopamine every day by doing their very best for the nation. And I think those are the important lessons for all of us to understand as we deal with each other, and to not make each other an other when we're working together. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Admiral.
The answers I'm giving are way too long. I'm sorry.
Aloha, sir. Obadiah Scroggins with Emerging Leader AFCEA. Quick question for you, sir, and I'm sorry for all my Air Force brothers and sisters here, but beat Air Force. Given as you mentioned in your speech, with the growing importance of cybersecurity in both military and the civilian sectors, what would you say are some other best pathways for young people to get involved in the cyber community and to prepare themselves for future roles with organizations such as Indo-PACOM, sir?
Well, the first thing I'll tell you is that we have a hiring booth here at Indo-PACOM, and our civilian fill rate at United States Indo-PACOM is hovering at about 77%. So one way that you can get involved is get yourselves over to our hiring booth. Give us your information, because there are satisfying careers here, and many of them are in the J6. And since cybersecurity is really inherent in every single thing that we do, you know, that's one way that you can get involved. And I'll tell you another thing too, is that I don't think that effective careers in cybersecurity, or more accurately, effective careers in information systems, and even careers that are not in information systems, inherently have the requirement of mastery of information systems. So don't be limited by the thought that, well, I'm not good at math or science, I can't do this. If you've had a chance to read Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers, you'll see that, the main determinant is determination and you know, rolling up your sleeves and working at a problem until you get it. And you can take your most basic math concept, limits or finding the integral or derivatives or whatever you like, and it takes the average human being about 25 minutes to master that before you can start doing practice problems on it. So whether you are a political science major or an English major, there are means by which you can take a you know, a course. I won't tell you the name of companies, but there are boot camps that you can take where you can build those skill sets, because it doesn't matter what you've studied as a course of study, and it doesn't matter if you're a fighter pilot, if you're a infantry officer, it doesn't matter if you are a submariner or whatever profession that you're in. Knowledge of information systems is indispensable in the 21st century, because this is more and more a domain that encompasses all other domains. And if speed is the coin of the realm, and if seeing, understanding, deciding, communicating, acting, and assessing is the coin of the realm, and doing so quickly, then you can see that just how important these careers are. And so I think, number one, don't be discouraged. Don't ever believe that you don't have the capability to do so. Oh, well, I'm a left brain person in a right brain world. I don't believe in that. I don't believe that that exists. Be determined. Be a lifelong learner in all ways, and go for it. So these are kind of some of the ways that I think that young people and old people can get into this too, because the model is lifelong learning. I mean, when I was a kid at Cardinal O'Hara High School, we programmed in BASIC, and we did so on punch cards. And when I went through college, you programmed in Fortran, Formula Translator. Does anybody know what that means? Very few of us do. And look at how the world has changed. And you've either kept up with that, you know, and you're programming in Java now, or you didn't. So be a lifelong learner. And so I want to thank you, Obadiah, for that.
Well, sir.
Roger. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Hello, Admiral. Just kidding you.
I'm Casey
future
Green
Admiral.
of James Campbell High School, RTC.
James, don't be, I paid you a compliment.
Thank you, sir.
James, please, go ahead.
Oh, no, Kaysen of James Campbell High School.
I'm sorry?
Kaysen Min of James Campbell High School.
Understood, Kaysen, forgive me.
I got two questions for you. How do you feel about gaming, more so simulated technology, being used to train the current and even future generations of military personnel? And how do you think that technology can evolve in, let's just say, the next decade or so?
Amen. Thank you, Kaysen. I think it is indispensable. I think woe be to the force that does not embrace this. I think it's an opportunity to do to learn in 1,000 runs what most people learn in one run. I think that that it is not a complete substitute for the real tactile feel, smell, 3D spatial perception of training. But it can greatly, greatly accelerate and enhance your training. And so when we talk about live, virtual, constructive, live, two tangible pieces of gear that are moving in relation to one another. Virtual, that is, you're in a tangible piece of gear, you're on a tangible patrol, and you are engaging a virtual image of something and practicing the muscle movements. And then constructive, where all is simulated because you're trying to learn about the interaction of phenomena from one to the other. I think gaming is a way that you can accelerate 10x, 100x that training of something that you're going to do in the physical space. Years ago, I read this book. I don't know who the author is, but it was called Everything Bad is Good for You. And so you hear these Luddites on occasion that say, oh, you know, these kids, they're playing Fortnite all day, and I don't think kids even play Fortnite anymore, too. It's probably old people that are playing Fortnite. But these kids are playing Fortnite all day, and they're eating nothing but Cheese Whiz and Captain Crunch, and I weep for the future. And if you read this book called Everything Bad is Good for You, you know, you'll see just what is that in a lot of ways, this thing makes us smarter and faster. It builds neural pathways that we wouldn't otherwise have. It puts complexity into our problem solving that allows us to think non-linearly, that allows us to think, you know, in sort of not in space and time, that moves along a linear path. I think that you know, I'm an enormous believer in it, and that belief, it's nothing that's new today. In the Second World War, they developed this thing that was called the Link Trainer, and it was called the Link Trainer because it was invented by a man named Link. And these were the first simulators that people brought to bear. And when you can build that muscle movement in simulators, it enhances the physical experience. Now, given where we are in compute, in graphic technology, you can just see how you can accelerate that experience, how to some extent you can make your time in the field so much more valuable in how you learn, and how you can rapidly and stochastically game solution after solution after solution and really optimize your plans and build decision tools that are going to be able to enable you to see, understand, decide, and act better, both at the human level for you and for me, and then at the unit level, and then even at the command level. So I'm an enormous believer in it. When I see these applications for military that have these simulations or simulators, whether it's a you know, Oculus piece, whether it's a headset, whether it's some kind of virtual system that enables you to have a tactile feel to it too, that thing should be burning 24/7. We should have a steady line of people ready to use those devices to get better and better all the time. I have kids your age, believe it or not, too, and I do not wear them out over whatever games they're playing while they're screaming into their headpieces, disturbing their mother and I at all hours of the night. So I encourage it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, sir. Mel Yokoyama. I'm the founder and chairman of one of the Native Hawaiian organizations here, Malamakau Foundation. The question I have revolves around speed. And so as we know, we're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, a couple thousand miles away from the mainland U.S., 4,000 miles away from Japan and Guam. As an NHO, Native Hawaiian organization, what can we do for you to increase the capabilities and capacity here in the PACOM region?
Thank you for that. One is that I'm a partner with you in this, in taking the gifts that we have here in Hawaii and cultivating them here, because it's a unique space that we're living in. It is a unique state among the 50 states, and it's a unique geography in the world. We think about what we have here in Hawaii, about our connection to the mainland, our cultural connections to Asia, our cultural connections to Polynesia, to Micronesia, to Melanesia. If you think about those connections that we have here, about the connections that we have here to 65 to 70% of the Joint Operating Forces have their headquarters here at Indo-PACOM. We have at least 4 higher institutions of learning. The University of Hawaii, we have Hawaii Pacific, We have Brigham Young University, Hawaii. We have Chaminade, among also our community colleges. We have APCSS, East-West Center. We have this deep well of intellectual capability. We have a deep well of cultural capability. We occupy a geography that is the most remote set of islands on Earth, being as distant from any continental landmass of any inhabited space on planet Earth that sits astride essentially the West and Asia here in the hub of the Pacific, in the Indo-Pacific century. And so you heard me touting our jobs booth here at Indo-Pacom, and we are working with IBAS to cultivate additive manufacturing and some industry here that will not only maintain the talent base here in Hawaii so that young talented people don't decamp for the 9th island,
Sure.
you know, so that there are opportunities beyond tourism here in Hawaii, so that we can connect the talent that comes here to Hawaii as a function of duty with the inherent infrastructure here, intellectually here with Hawaii, to the talented population base here in Hawaii to provide opportunity in the STEM fields, but not limited to the STEM fields, for the security of the nation that brings all of those advantages of Hawaii for the national security of the United States. And so the ROTC units are an example. Our University Association research and development organizations here at the University of Hawaii are examples. Our outreach to young people, so that there are not just honorable professions at the shipyard, which is a huge driver for innovation here, not just within the United States Navy, but is an important non-tourism industry here in Hawaii. And we can get that symbiosis between the civilian research community, civilian industry here, opportunity, geography, the commands that are here, and get that symbiosis from us that's here. Because we desperately need to retain that intellectual capability here. 10% of all of the 4-stars in the Joint Force are based here in Hawaii. U.S. operations across 55% of the globe, 60% of the world's population are based here in Hawaii. The health of the Hawaii STEM career paths, is essential to the national security of the United States of America. And we can't just lazily wait for it to come to us. At Indo-Pacom and within our components, we have also got to, we have got to cultivate that also in the community. And it's not us being nice guys about it. It's a matter of duty, and it's a matter of mission. And by the way, it is quite satisfying when Kaysen from James Campbell High School stands up and asks a great question about gaming, and when a young person graduates from an engineering program at one of our colleges and universities and stays here in Hawaii and maybe builds some skill sets that confer to defense, but then maybe that skill set also confers to private industry here in Hawaii to create that opportunity. I think that's important for us all.
Well, certainly, like Julia said, fly Navy.
Right, thank you. I'm joint now, so I agree with everybody. Go Air Force, go Navy, go Marines, go Space Force, go Army, go Coast Guard, go civilian, go everybody.
Admiral Jack Jarman with EdgeTI. Thanks for this forum. It's great to be able to speak to you directly. A lot of the different comments that have been made by people were some of the things I wanted to bring up, but One of the thoughts I just wanted to share, first of all, I know that we'll win any fight we have to fight, and
Damn right.
we don't ever have to fight.
It's a matter of margin. Goddamn right we will. Sorry, Chaplain.
But what does frighten me is we may lose people, we may have an elongated battle, because the technology that's available to you today, you don't know. It is a partnership. I think everyone in this room definitely is for that mission, but there was an earlier panel where someone said, if I didn't have the technology 2 years ago, I won't have it fielded in 2 years. What are your thoughts on how we can change the process that we're living in when someone comes to you and if they have the opportunity and say, this will work, and you look at it and say, yes, it will work. How do we get it so that it can go from that concept to the warfighter in 3 weeks?
Well, I want that, you know, and this young man, stand up, Chris. My DIU rep, Defense Innovation Unit here is a part of having those channels where we can quickly experiment with and quickly transition capabilities that will be difference making, so that we don't have to get a bloody nose before we get our act together, as we did in some of those places that we cited. And then I think it takes every avenue to bring new capability in can't be all through these little bypass vessels. We actually have to get after the system itself. You know, within the defense acquisition system and within the horse blanket, if you look at all of the steering groups, you know, the systems integration steering group, the independent cost assessment, the project cost assessment, the systems engineering reports, and if you just look at the weight of all of the bits of bureaucracy that have got to be done, that are frequently done in series instead of in parallel, each one of which was added in order to control for risk. But the weight of all of them in a rapidly changing technological environment becomes a risk itself. That's the cognitive dissonance that is within that system. So cultivating those bypass mechanisms, rapid capability offices, defense innovation units, and so forth is one way. But we can't just lazily whistle past the graveyard on the larger point, which is that our defense acquisition system has become so ponderous that it confers some threat. And I'll give you just a quick sea story. I was a lieutenant commander. Lieutenant Commander Paparo, Eisler over there, and I had just finished flying F-15s together when the Joint Strike Fighter was down-selected from the two entrants. And I was sent to Lockheed Martin in Fort Worth to be part of the pilot vehicle interface and the initial concept of operations team to bring the Joint Strike Fighter on board. And that just in a number of years, we'd be flying the Joint Strike Fighter. I was a 4-star in command of the fleet before the first deployment of the Joint Strike Fighter deployed. Yes, Lieutenant Commander Paparo, it was not until USS Carl Vinson's deployment in the Pacific in October of 21 before Joint Strike Fighter for the Navy made its first deployment, and I had been promoted 6 times. And so that is an anecdote of what we have to overcome. And DIU, a couple of the early founders have a book. I won't tell you what it is because they're making $1 off of it. But your iPhone that's in your pocket right now likely has more compute power and speed than some of those early machines due to closed architecture, and so forth too. And so now listen, we desperately need Joint Strike Fighter. It is a disorienting capability that will help us prevail for all number of reasons. But it can be better, we can be better, and together we have to be. Thank you.
Sir, from the AV desk, the exhibit hall is about to close and it's going to get loud in here. So if we could go to one final question and then we can wrap up.
Yes, please.
Admiral, thanks for being here. Austin Gray, Blue Water Autonomy. The book is called Unit X. I know you can't say it, but I can promote it. It's great.
Who are you? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I got it. I know. I read the book.
Yeah, no, I know you read it, but for
Yeah.
the room, I know you can't advertise it.
Yeah.
But my question's in the same vein. I liked how you portrayed the OODA loop ratio of ours to the adversaries, but the one I'm really concerned about is the ratio of the capital that's been invested into warfighter tech from the private sector compared to the dollars going from DoD acquisitions into those companies that raise the capital. And it's like a 10-to-1 ratio the wrong way right now. And so I'm worried because I raise private capital. We're building autonomous maritime tech for you guys. We've gotten great feedback from DIU, from the 9 shops in every fleet. We know exactly what we need to build, but the budget lines for every USV and UUV capability within funded requirements for enabling tech, I could go down the list, are flat, or they're going down. And where they're flat, they've got incumbents who are operating something and it's all locked in. How are you working with DC? The rhetoric's been great with robotic autonomous systems, more players on the field, but the budget lines are not matching the rhetoric right now, and I talked to Admiral Pitts about the same thing, so I'd just love to hear your perspective.
I just have to keep working on it. Unrelenting advocacy and unrelenting experimentation that helps shows results, and so you know, I've been as clear as I can possibly be about my commitment to these capabilities, particularly in confined spaces, where in these terrains we can really make you know, enormous gains in some of these spaces from a sea denial and air denial standpoint. And so when you say, you know, I mean, let's stay engaged about what the physics of what's possible and what's achievable, and then let's stay connected with our innovation arms that help us quickly experiment. And for those of us in uniform, we just have to get better and work harder at transitioning and getting these investments on order. And so, you know, I can't say anything to you other than I believe in the capabilities that you're talking about with every fiber of my being. I want to answer a question from this young midshipman. This is our last one.
Good afternoon, Admiral, Midshipman 3rd Class IU. I know this might be on the smaller scale, but it's important for some people here, especially my commissioning class of 2027. If conflict were to happen around that date of January 2027, how would that influence or change the training and qualification of newer officers hitting the fleet?
It's a good one. You know, the 41st President of the United States, you know who that was?
No, sir.
Huh?
No, sir.
It's George H.W. Bush. He has the distinction of having been the youngest naval aviator ever, having earned his wings at the tender age of 18 years of age. And so our talent pool, to some extent, is a vacuum. And what I mean about it's a vacuum is that it's a demand-based system. And so as the force grows in response to a threat, and or the country will ask everything of you that it can, and the country will endeavor never to send you into conflict without being properly trained and equipped. And so that's the balance that we'll try to strike in that. And so the demand within the system will determine how quickly we are raising the urgency of your training and qualification. But you'll be required to perform to standard, and leadership will be required to confer onto you the training resources to get you trained at that time. But in times of conflict, such as it was in the 1940s, sometimes that system moves very, very quickly when there is a demand for forces. But it is a matter of demand. That's what I mean about a vacuum, is that when there's a demand at the top, it will pull you from being a junior person into being a senior person very quickly. There were people that, at the start of the Second World War, Dwight D. Eisenhower, who finished 4 years later as a 5-star, was a permanent lieutenant colonel in the United States Army by the war's end. And so, depending on your talent and depending on your ability to cultivate that talent with hard work, and the latter is way more important than the former, is what will be asked of you. What are you going to go into when you graduate in 2027? What airplane are you going to fly, the F-18 or the F-35?
Hopefully the Growler, sir.
The Growler, that's great too. God, what a great answer. Give me a coin. Where are you, Ash? Huh? Yeah. Yeah. Come get your coin. That's the last question.
Thank you, sir. Please welcome to the podium Lieutenant General Susan Lawrence, U.S. Army retired, President and CEO of AFCEA International.
Thank you, Ben, very much, and sir, thank you again for taking the time to be here. It is always an exciting event when you come and close these out, which you have done for us many, many times, and I can't thank you enough. You set the stage by talking about the complex, connected, multi-theater risks that we're facing today and the challenges. The questions we got today I thought were really on point with that mission and where we're going, so thank you so much for what you've done there. And thank you for recognizing the AFCEA international leadership, the local leadership. I am blessed to be on this team. But one other person I want to recognize is Colonel Dick Palmieri, who is the AFCEA Hawaii chapter president, newly appointed, so thank you. Dick, the Admiral has challenged us to grow TechNet Indo-Pacific larger and better and bigger next year. Now, we're already off to a good start, sir. This year we had 1,100 more registrants and 60 additional industry partners than what we had last year. So on behalf of both the international headquarters and our local chapter, we're going to make a donation to the Friends of the Windward Wounded Warriors in your name. And in addition, we have the coveted coin from this year's Indo-Pacific. So thank you again, sir, for your time and your insights. Very much appreciated. Thank you, sir. Okay. Well, it's time to say aloha, and I am throwing all of these papers out because we do need to move on and let our industry partners take care of things out there. And again, as the Admiral said, we can't do what we do without our industry partners. We would not exist at AFCEA International without you. So thank you so much for all that you contributed to this week. And one other statistics I want to tell you about is, I'm so excited, is that we had 153 new individuals who signed up as members this week. So thank you. We have 3 new corporate members, and we had 11 corporations renew their membership. What a great week we had here. So thank you very much. Okay, so as we send you on our way, again, we're excited to be back here again next year. So mark your calendars as we reunite here the 28th through the 30th of October. But if you can't wait to see us until then, 3 new big events we got coming up. TechNet Transatlantic, December 4th and 5th in Frankfurt. TechNet Emergence in the Capital Region, March 4th and 5th. And just recently, the DoD CIO approached us and asked us to work their workforce summit, the 20th to 21st of March. So please mark those on your calendar. We're going to be excited to be there. Safe travels to you all. Thank you so much for everything you did this week, and aloha.